Hello, everyone. Trust you are well. This is the 41st edition of Leadership Talk with Adegoke. Leadership Talk with Adegoke. And me tonight, Abiola Shoremekun. Abiola Shoremekun. We're going to be looking at leadership and marriage. Leadership and marriage. How are you today, man?
Thank you. I'm fine. Thank you, Coach Adegoke Omotola. Thank you very much. I'm so glad to be here. Once again, I've been here before in the maiden edition, I think, of your leadership topic, Adegoke, and of course, I've been keeping tabs with all your talks, and we've been coming up with great content. We've been learning a lot. So thank you so much, Coach Adegoke. Thank you so much, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Can you tell us who is Abiola Shoremekun, please?
Okay. First of all, Abiola Shoremekun is a wife and then a mother. Okay, and then I work in the oil and gas industry with over 25 years professional experience. I'm a chartered manager of Chartered Management Institute of UK. I'm a certified John Maxwell speaker, coach, and trainer. I'm a US certified marriage counselor, and I'm recently, of course, an author, and I published my first book on Essentials of a Successful Marriage, a step-by-step guide last year. So, in a nutshell, that's just me.
Wow, awesome. So, how did you get into leadership?
Well, let me first of all say something that everyone is a leader. Of course, as a child, from the time I always believe, it is my own opinion that as a child, from the time when you begin to discern between right and wrong, you are an unconscious leader. Then from the time when I grew up, I started reading inspirational books, I became a conscious leader. But when I joined John Maxwell, I became an intentional leader.
Wow.
So everyone is a leader. Yeah.
Now, I just want to jump in real quick. Marriage, the institution of marriage, I know it's, ordained by God. And Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I said marriage is an institution ordained by God. What's your marriage? What's your perspective on marriage?
Okay, so marriage, of course, like you said, is an institution ordained by God. Marriage is made in heaven, but the maintenance is made on earth,
Okay.
And then, yes, of course. And then marriage is something that God created between the man and the woman to come together to become one. So marriage is God's gift to man, and the Bible has the manual for marriage. So marriage is one of the greatest gifts that God has given to man. Because even the Bible says, it is not good for man to be alone. He created Adam, and then he said, "Oh, okay, Adam, you are alone. Let me create a need for you so that you can keep you company." So marriage is also for companionship. And what else can I say about marriage? Marriage, of course, is also for procreation. He said, "Go ye and be fruitful, subdue the earth," and all that. So marriage is one of the greatest things, as I said, that God created for man, for companionship and for procreation.
Wow, amazing. Now you've been married for 25 years.
Yeah, over 25 years.
Over 25 years. Now, I thought, it must not have, it's not been, an easy road. But what's your perspective on marriage?
Okay, let me tell you something. Something that I always share with a lot of people. I always tell people that marriage, the decision of who you marry in marriage is one of the most important decisions that anyone can make. Either the decision of salvation, or wanting to serve God, or wanting to live your life, in a Christ-like manner. The second most important decision I can ever make in life is who you choose. Your partner. And then also, because I say this because every man, born of woman, has a destiny to fulfill, has a purpose to fulfill. So the person you marry can either help you to fulfill that marriage, your purpose, can either help you to fulfill your purpose, or can delay your purpose, or can even marry. There has been different, stories, various stories, and various cases, incidences of people, passing on in marriage through physical abuse, and there's also been stories of even children, being victims of marriage, being, children not fulfilling their purpose, children not even, being impacted by the choice of the kind of family
Wow.
that they find themselves in. So marriage is a very, very important thing. And I always also tell people that marriage has a rippling effect, because so that's why it is very important for us that when we're going to marry, and even while we're in the marriage, we should think of the rippling effect that marriage has. What are some of these rippling effects? It has the rippling effect on the society, because the children that you bring into the marriage, if you do not train your children, if they go out there, they disturb the society. But if you train your children will go into the society and become good citizens.
Wow, amazing. Now, I know you wrote a book on marriage, can you just speak to that book?
Okay, so I published this book, last year. It's called Essentials of a Successful Marriage, a step-by-step guide. And the synopsis of Essential of a Successful Marriage, it contains, the foreword, of course, and then the introduction. And then I talked about 7 essentials. Seven, the figure 7 is not by mistake, because 7 is a figure of perfection. So the essentials that I talked about are communication. Of course, the list is not exhaustive. I talked about communication. I talked about trust. I talked about finance, and I talked about commitment. I talked about romance. I talked about love, and I talked about prayer. And I said that some of these essentials are very important to marriage. And in my book, I explained briefly how each one of them can help us to, have a successful marriage. And I also say, there's also one thing that I always say, that successful marriage will never just fall into your lap. It's not automatic. You have to make your marriage work. You work at your marriage to make it work. From the time you say "I do" in your marriage, you're responsible for what you have in your marriage. If you work at it, you get a successful marriage. If you do not work at it, then you get what you work for. Okay, and then also there's something also that I always say, that I've only been married for like 25 years. I will not call that. I'll give God the glory. But I always tell people that I don't come here to blow my trumpet, but I'm coming here to leave a legacy and to share a word of knowledge about marriage, and also to fulfill a calling that the Lord has placed on me on successful marriages. And because also I lost a half brother by a victim of marriage. So to me, marriage is very important. Marriage is something that we should think of. For those who are already married, even if you made the wrong choice, you feel you make the wrong choice, you can still work at your marriage. But if you're not yet married, think very well about it before you make that commitment in marriage, because you know that your choice of partner will be affecting somebody's life. It will be affecting the life of your children. It will be affecting the society as a whole.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much. If you just joined us, I want to encourage you to share this page to your friends, to your timeline. Make sure you share this page, because somebody out there needs to listen to this message. The issue of marriage is so instructive. It's so important. So I want you to like and share this page. Now, what are the signs that a marriage, that indicate that you have a good marriage?
Sorry, can you come again?
The signs that show that you have a good marriage.
Okay, what are the signs that indicates that you have a good marriage? First of all, John Maxwell, our leader, John Maxwell would always say that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And then leadership is not about titles, it's not about position, it's about whose life that you're influencing. And then a leader knows the way, shows the way, and goes the way. And then also, for you to know that your marriage is successful, what are the things that you will see in that marriage? There's purpose, there's unity of purpose, there's integrity, there's responsibility, there's, dependability. You are approachable as a person, and then you're diligent, and then you're respectful, and then you're compassionate. And then, so the signs of a good marriage, you will see intimacy, you will see joy, you will see peace, you will see unity of purpose, you will see teamwork, you will see trust. Those are some of the things that you see in a good marriage. And I always say, there are no perfect marriages. The only thing that you have is successful marriages. And what is the successful marriage? A successful marriage is just two people coming together to say, okay, look, we're going to make our mistakes, but we're going to, as we go along, we're going to forgive our mistakes, and then we're going to go along together, committed together. Those are people who know that they made a commitment in their marriage, that vow that we made, that to promise to hold in sickness and in health, that we're going to stick on to him and go the long run together. Pure and simple. That is what successful marriage is all about.
Wow. So now I just want to jump in real quick. Is money important in marriage? Money.
Yes, money is very important in marriage, but money is not everything. As important as it is in marriage, it is not everything. Okay, why is it not everything? Because, for instance, you want to marry someone, and then you're waiting for the person to be very rich. You say, okay, you want to marry someone who is very rich. Okay, fine. If the value that you look for in a man is wealth, okay, you get the wealth. But of course, that person that you're marrying will also be saying, oh, will this person have married me if I didn't have this kind of wealth, if I was not this comfortable, if I was not this rich? And then, of course, you may end up having that person with money, but not having the values. Okay, so the most important thing to look for in marriage is look for the values, and then, of course, let money be an added thing. Okay, money is not everything, but money is very important in marriage, because if money was everything, you know the same rich people who are also having challenges in their marriage. There's so many rich people, but they're having challenges in their marriage. So it's very important for you to make sure that in your marriage, the values that you look for have sustained, that in your marriage, that you work at it to make it successful, that in your marriage, you have integrity, you have trust, because you could have all the money in the world, without all these things, the marriage will still not work. But let money be an added advantage. I'm not saying that we shouldn't work at getting money or work at being rich. Yes, money buys all the good things of life. Money will make us to be comfortable, will give us the cars that we need, will give us to take us to, will allow us to go on the kind of holiday that we want. But the most important thing in marriage is to look for the values. Ensure that the values that you love in a marriage, what you want in your marriage, that you're sustaining it in your marriage before you think of the money side. That's why the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. Love, money is good, but we shouldn't love it more than how we should more than other values in marriage.
Wow, awesome. Now I just want to jump in real quick. Now for those who are listening to us, if the sound is good, just say yes, and if the sound is not good, say no. Just put it in the chat. If the sound is good, say yes. If the sound is not good, say no. We just want to make sure that you are getting value. So please, we're just waiting for you to give us a feedback. If you can hear us, say yes properly. Yes, okay, good. Tolu Alike, thank you so much. We have my friend and my brother Tolu Alike. Yes, okay. From Florida, is also a John Maxwell coach. Is joining us. Odeyemi Olaiwole is also with us tonight. Also a John Maxwell coach, joining us to celebrate you and to, just encourage you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Uchenna Umegochukwu is a good friend. Now, this issue of marriage, what causes friction in marriage? What are things, because some marriages just see that they're wonderful, all of a sudden there is friction. What causes friction in marriage?
Okay, so if you want to liken marriage to how leadership is, okay, when God created man and woman, He said, "Husband, love your wives," okay, and wives, submit to your husband. Okay, so there are three types of leadership in marriage. There's the authoritarian leadership, and then there's also the co-leadership, what I call the co-leadership, and then there's also the supportive leadership. When we do not follow the biblical principles of these types of leadership in marriage, I mean, we of course we are bound to have conflict. The supportive, the authoritarian. Let me talk about the authoritarian. In the authoritarian, you have the man, being a dictator. I mean, not allowing the wife to make the decision, how should I say it? Commanding, being like wielding a lot of power in the relationship, not allowing the woman to make decisions. That is the authoritarian type of leadership. Then you have the co-leadership.
Hello,
Yeah.
Before you, is it only the man that is authoritarian? The woman, so are you saying the woman can never be authoritarian?
Yes, the woman can also be authoritarian. But what I'm trying to say is, in most cases, the man also can. I mean, the man mainly is the authoritarian leadership. I mean, leading the marriage. Yes,
Okay.
yes, but you do have. Okay, for example, let me tell you about a story. There's this story of a man. I mean, he was very successful at work, but in the home, he was not successful. The wife was always complaining that he was not, standing in. He was not standing in as a man. He was not standing in as a husband. He was not standing as a father. He was not making decisions. So, I mean, the man now went for, counseling, and then the counselor decided to, started asking him questions. I got to know that when he was young, the mother was the dictator in the marriage rather than the dad. So he felt that was the order of things. So sometimes you have the woman being the dictator, but most of the time you have the man being the dictator. So what I'm trying to say is, if you do not follow the biblical principles of what God wants in marriage, when he says the man will be the head of the home, but mind you, the head that we're talking about now is not the head that dictates, is not the head that wields power, but it's about responsibility.
Okay.
It's about being responsible for your family, about taking care of your needs, nurturing your family. So when you do not have the order of how marriage should be, when you have either the authoritarian or even the co-leadership, in co-leadership, you want to come together and say, oh, okay, the two of us must make the decision together. But what happens when one person is not around? Or what happens when maybe there's an emergency? Won't one person make the decision? But the biblical one that God wants is the supportive leadership, the one in which the wife knows at the head, the husband is the head of the home. And then the husband also knows that even though I'm the head of the home, I must not lord it over my wife. I must also hear our own input in every decision that we want to take. And that's number one. And then the husband too will also say, okay, look, okay, if I'm taking this decision, I will work. I mean, we will go into the marriage with the objectives and the goals that we want, complementing each other. I can say that, look, okay, these are your own strengths, these are my own strengths, these are your own weaknesses, these are my own strengths. So the husband will say, okay, I will do this, you are better than in this, and then I am better in this, then I will take this. I mean, let me give you an example. There are situations, there are things that are coming, like in my family, for example, when we have to take decision. For instance, the kind of school that the child will go to, I will be the one to take that decision. Not that my husband cannot take that decision, but we say, okay, look, you have that strength, you are the one that's so knowledgeable, you're well versed, you know what you look for. Okay, so go and do this. Okay, then there's sometimes when we want to buy maybe a property. Of course, I'll leave that to my husband. That you have that strength, you're a strength guy, you can always tell. So this is what I'm saying. So when you have the order of things in marriage, it makes the marriage, peaceful. But when the order of things is reversed, then of course you have the other way.
But marriage, you have been married for over 25 years. You are making it sound as if it's as simple as ABC. You are talking about scripture, you are talking about, authoritarian marriage, in marriage. But do you know that, I'm just speaking. I mean, I've been married for, over 20 years. Respect. I mean, with due respect, you are my senior. But we want you to speak to those who are just starting off, 2 years, 3 years in marriage. What would be your advice to them? Because one of the sessions that we had about a year ago, you were saying that You know, the first 5 years of marriage is when you really begin to learn so much. If you can, you know, go beyond that, then there's a lot of hope. Can you speak to that?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I was trying to speak in towards the scope of leadership and marriage. But if you want to go that way, no problem. Okay, so in my book, I said that my book is usually for, not that, it's okay for everyone, okay, but usually I said that the first 5 years of marriage is usually the most important in that marriage, because most of us, even me included, I remember when I first got married then, I told myself, I said, okay, now I'm married, what next? And that was the first question I said in this book. I said, now I'm married, what next? What is the next thing? The next thing is to begin to work at your marriage. Okay, so imagine, before we got married, there was much love, there was passionate love. We couldn't wait to see each other. We love to go on dates. There was much love there. They always say that the courtship is the most enjoyable time in marriage. So after getting married, the next thing now, you begin to work at your marriage. Now, marriage, what is marriage? Marriage is two people coming from different backgrounds with different ways of doing things, different values, different beliefs, and then coming together to live together as husband and wife. Of course, there's bound to be friction. You can imagine. Even you and your siblings, with the fact that you grew up in the same home, you still have friction. So talk less of two people coming from different backgrounds and then coming to live together as one. So what are the first things that you start to do? The first things that you start to do is to begin to work on your mind. And what is the first thing? It is communication. Communication is that bridge in that marriage that lets you build your mind, because with communication, you begin to talk to each other. You begin to talk about your likes, begin to talk about your dislikes. Maybe somebody snores, maybe somebody is untidy, maybe somebody is too neat. There are people that are so, of course, I'm one of them. I'm the kind of person that when I put my things in one place, I want to be able to reach for it in the whereas my spouse is the kind of person that when he keeps his thing somewhere, he flings it and all over. So, two people coming together. So you begin to talk, and that's why I say, in the first 2 years of marriage, it's better for the two of you to live together, without any outside interference. No one from your family, no member of your family, if you can help it, should come and stay with you, because this is a bonding time. This is a time when you need to really, really know yourself without any putting up in front of anybody. So that communication is very, very important. Already, of course.
Can I stop you there? You say that no member of your family should come and stay with you. They say that it takes a village to raise a child in Africa. And you are now saying, look, your husband that was raised by a village, and you now say, okay, a sibling or they shouldn't come and stay with you. Would it not be very tough, to push that across? Some people find themselves in that situation. What would they say? Can you speak to that?
Yes, I'm good. I'm sure. I agree with you, Goki. It's really, really very tough. Because we have this communal kind of living here in Nigeria. We have uncles, we have sisters, we have, But I can tell you, one of the reasons why it is not good for one, not that they cannot come and live with you. They can come, but if only they can be controlled. But in most cases, it may not work. Let me tell you the reason why.
It's not easy to control.
Supposing once the husband's sibling comes to live with him, and then the wife is pregnant, and then the husband wants to help the wife, maybe in the kitchen, to cook in the kitchen. The sibling staying with them, you probably tell the mom or the parents that, come and see you, or come and see brother. He's not the one doing house girl work. The wife is, so things like that. They can never be themselves, because of that. If you can help it, and that's why I said, if you can help it, but if you cannot help it, well, you just have to live with it. But if you can, and that's why the Bible says, the two of them should go, and two shall become one. It did not say three shall become one. It said they shall leave their father and mother and shall become one. Because God knows what he's talking about. Because at that particular time, he doesn't want interference. All this interference causes, a lot of, misunderstanding in the marriage. If you can help it, fine. But if you cannot help it, then allow them to come and live with you. There was a story of a lady who married her husband, and then the husband's siblings came to live with them. And she found herself, cooking every day. Cooking every day. She got so tired, she got so ill. And then she told the brother, she told the husband, she said, look, why can't you look for, a place for your siblings? I mean, you can rent them a place so that they can live there and then maybe be together and all that. You know what? The husband told the siblings, and the siblings went and reported him in the village that, our brother is sending us out of the house. And of course, so these are some of the things that happen. You can never be yourself while there's a third party. You need to be yourself, because that's the time, that's the bonding stage. That's the time when you show yourself who you really are. I mean, when you're still courting, I mean, there's no way you can actually know yourself. I mean, there'll still be some things. Sometimes you're on our guard, especially when we're dating, we're on our guard. We don't want to let out. But by the time you get married, what are you hiding again? The two of you are going to be together. You're going to be, living under the same roof. So you can't hide anything. So this is a time when you need to be yourself. And to be yourself, you need to be alone at that particular time. If you can be helped, it's better, at least for the first 2 years. We're not saying forever. We're not saying that siblings cannot come and live with us. But for those first 2 years, it's always better for husband and wife to be alone together, so that they can understand each other better and bond better. Because that bonding stage, it's very, very important. And that's why we say that if you're able to survive the first 5 years of a marriage, you have the chance of going at it for a long run. And so that's why this book talked about, my book that I wrote talked about, the 7 essentials that can help you to build that bond.
Okay, we'll still get to that. Awesome. Yeah. I can see that, there's so much energy, so much passion in this area. This is your niche area. You are not just, somebody that is speaking of marriage, but you are still, undergoing that journey, and to the glory of God. We're trusting God that we will attend your 30th anniversary and many ways. And you're not just a speaker, but you're also an author. Your book, Essentials of a Successful Marriage, and you're also a certified professional marriage coach. Yeah, and you're also a certified leadership coach. Now, this issue of leader, who is the leader in the marriage? Is it the husband or the wife?
Okay. When God created the man and the woman, he said, go and be together. And then he also said, the husband, love your wife, and then wife, submit to your husband. So that tells me something. If God is telling you to submit to someone, so that means that person is the leader, because a leader knows the way, a leader shows the way. You know how we say it in John Maxwell. So the husband is the leader in this case. But that leadership, unfortunately, a lot of people arrogate it to power. And even if you arrogate it to power, I mean, when you have power, it is to serve the people. When Jesus Christ came on there, he came with power. But what did he do? He didn't wield his power on the young people. He washed his disciples' feet. He did a lot of things. So in order not to digress, the husband is the leader of the home. But there must be a balance here. And then the wife also is the one that submits. But there must also be a balance to that submission. That submission does not mean that the wife is a footman that can be trod upon. No. You're supposed to, the Bible said the wife is a helpmate. So as a helpmate, she's also the support leadership. The wife is also supporting the leadership of the husband. So she's support leadership, co-leadership, support leadership.
Wow. Awesome. Now, this issue of leadership, what's the consequence of lack of leadership in the home? If there is lack of leadership, coming in a marriage, what's the consequence if there's no leadership?
If there's no leadership, there's chaos, there's conflict. There's chaos, there's conflict, there's lack of intimacy, there's aloofness, there's no teamwork, everybody's just doing their thing. No teamwork, no nothing. The husband cannot speak in the house, the husband cannot speak to the children will not also listen to their father. The wife, for instance, if the wife is used to shouting at let me just say, if the couples are used to talking back at themselves, shouting at themselves, in the presence of the children, what do you think would happen? The children would think that it's the other of the day. But don't get me wrong. As couples, you do have your moments that you have misunderstandings. I remember what I used to do then. Anytime I have to discuss with my husband, I go to my room, I turn off the TV so that the TV kind of muffles our voices, just in case we tend to raise our voices, So when there's no leadership, so that means maybe leadership also is about respect. So sometimes when the husband is not getting the leadership that he's supposed to have, maybe he's not even giving the wife also that the reason for the wife to respect him. Because you can't force people to respect you. You can only earn that respect. So by the things you do, if you respect, and I can tell you, most women, if you love them, if you nurture them, if you listen to them, what does a woman want? You know the needs of a woman. A woman loves to be, nurtured. A woman loves to be affectionate with her husband. A woman loves, a lot of. So by the time you begin to, if you treat your wife well, what I'm trying to say is your wife too will also treat you well. If you love your wife, if you give her family, financial security, you take care of her, you do the things, you carry out your responsibilities in the home. The wife, of course, is bound to respect you. And when she respects you, then she can, at least acknowledge your leadership in the home. So if there's no leadership in the home, maybe someone is not doing what he should be doing. Probably the man is not doing what he should be doing, or the wife also, for one reason or another, is not also submitting. And there can be a lot of things responsible for this, especially if the wife is.
Sorry to jump in. I want to talk about trust in marriage. What do you need to do to make sure that your wife trusts you? Because some instances, the husband will say that the wife doesn't trust her, trust him, that she's always going through his phone, trying to check whether there is any suspicious text. Can you speak to the issue of trust in marriage?
Okay. Trust is a very intangible thing. It's quite intangible, but it's very, very important. It's very, very strong. You're sitting on a chair now, okay, aren't you? You're sitting on a chair. I'm sitting on a chair. I'm sitting on that chair because I know that chair will not make me fall. I trust that chair is strong and it won't make me fall. Okay, so the same thing is with trust. You see, trust is something also they have to earn by accountability. And that's what I always say. Yeah, by accountability. In my own case, before I married my husband, while we were dating, we were already preparing for marriage, I made sure that I was accountable. Anytime he comes to my house and he does not find me at home, he knows where I am. I would always leave a message at home that, look, I'm with a friend, I've gone here, I've gone there. So I was building that trust. And because I was building that trust, it was easy for him also to begin to do the same. So you cannot force people to trust you. But by your actions, people can begin to trust you. There are times when, of course, you can make a mistake or whatever. But when you do make a mistake, say, just confess that you made that mistake and apologize and move on. So the only way that we can build trust in the home is by also giving that trust in return. And how do we give that trust? By our actions, by integrity, telling the truth all the time, saying it as it is. I remember when my children were growing up, and even I used to use it to myself. We had a code, a code in everything that we do. We say WWJD. What would Jesus do? And most of the time, before I do anything, I always ask myself, and I tell my children to ask themselves, if you do this thing, would you be brave enough? Would you be bold enough to tell anyone that did this thing? If your answer is yes, fine. If your answer is no, fine. So talking about trust, looking at your husband's phones and everything, you build your trust. You show him. For me, I can leave my phone anywhere. I tell my husband that, look, my phone is so free. Even if I password it, maybe it might be for reasons, maybe just in case I leave my phone in there, maybe a stranger takes my phone. But my husband will always know my password. And I tell him that, look, you know my password. And I also tell him that I do not need to look at your phone because I trust you. Even though he's doing things that's not making me to trust him, even though if he's not being accountable, I will always tell him, that thing that you want, you speak it. I trust you. When he's going out, when he's traveling, I trust you. And I trust that you will not do that thing that you'll be afraid or will not be bold enough to tell me. So you begin to, as you begin to say those things, guilty conscience too. We also try to, we also, the man too will also start to feel that, okay, if this woman is saying all this, I better also, be, So I don't need to check his phone, because I always tell him that I trust you and I know you will not do anything to hurt me. So I say, even though I'm not sure, but I say it until it begins to come. You see, that thing that you want, you have to speak it. And that's why the Bible says, speak those things that be not as though they were. And as you speak it more, it begins to happen. So even if don't worry if your husband is doing, something by the side, by the time you begin to speak this thing and pray this thing as well, pray this thing as well, it begins to happen.
Wow. Wow. Now, this area of divorce, what is your opinion about divorce? I know that, it's a contentious issue. You see marriages of decades and they still end up in divorce. I want you to, what are the things that can lead to divorce?
Okay, so when we're talking about marriages of decades, okay, I would say one thing. I would say that in our own days, when we were growing up, we didn't have it good. We didn't have, we're not opportune to have this kind of knowledge that a lot of people have now. And so, a lot of us made mistakes along the line. Which even the society is trying to correct, and which even the church is trying to correct. Some years ago, you would never find a book in the church with sex inside it. You would never find. So a lot of us, marriages of those decades, they had a lot of us at that time didn't even go for counseling. So we did it the way we could, listening to friends, talking to friends. A lot of us didn't even know about counselors. And that was why there was a time when I was called upon to come and answer a question about young people saying, oh, they don't want to get married. All they see is the divorce, infidelity and all that. I say yes, that we, our generation, we need to begin to apologize, to the younger generation, because we are not molded to them what a marriage should be. We are not molded to them, and it's not our fault. We did not know better. In our own days, we could never ask our parents any question. In our days, for instance, in marriage, the wife would never ask the husband for sex. They would say, oh, she's been promiscuous. So you can imagine a wife that is in a marriage that can never ask her husband for sex, and then goes to the office, and then somebody is complimenting her, giving her attention. What do you think would happen? She will begin to fall for that guy. So a lot of mistakes have been made. A lot of misconceptions have been made in marriage that has made a lot of us to, that has made the divorce rate to go so high. So we're not modeling good marriages for people. Okay, but I would tell anyone that no matter how bad things are, as long as you have that commitment and as long as you're able to forgive, you can still go ahead with your marriage. Yes, as long as, and that's why the Bible says, if you can forgive each other 70 times, as long as you're able to forgive. I've had to cancel people. I've had to cancel. There was a friend that I canceled some time ago, a long time ago. She was going to, divorce her husband. And why was she going to divorce her husband? Because she said her husband committed, he was not faithful, and she caught the husband red-handed in a hotel room with another woman. And I said, yes, you have a right to get hurt. You have a right to be sad. And you have a right to say you want to divorce him. But I asked her, can you forgive him? So if he shows remorse, can you forgive? And she said, yes. And then, lo and behold, till today, they're still together. So I was able to answer that. So as you are able to forgive, it doesn't matter. If you're able to forgive, as long as there is no physical abuse, because we would rather have a separation than have murder on our hands. But as long as there is no physical abuse, we can still go at it together.
We sorted out. Now, I want you to speak to this issue of, when you have a relation, husband and wife, and they have a disagreement, and the woman moves out with the children. What would you say to? Obviously you don't have all the facts, but based on what I've just said, they have a disagreement, and the woman moves away with the children and takes the children away. What would you say to that? That kind of, to those couples? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. the first thing you need to begin to understand is, okay, what is actually going on? You need to call the two of them together. What is actually going on in the marriage? Is it that one person, is there physical abuse? Or is there, and then there's something worse also, okay? Something worse than physical abuse, it's also emotional abuse. And emotional abuse can really, in fact, that's even more dangerous. Both of them are dangerous, both physical and emotional abuse. It's dangerous. And then it happens, and such happens even among Christians. And why do I say that? We Christians, that because we're Christians, we're not supposed to go out there to commit adultery. And then you find, a spouse not, fulfilling the needs of the other person, and then knowing fully well that person cannot go anywhere. So
okay, can I just there's a question here. Mary Ellen Nadi, she's also a John Maxwell coach. I think we have so many of our colleagues here tonight. We celebrate and salute all of you. If you're just joining us, this is Leadership Talk with Adegoke. It's on Apple and Spotify podcast, and I have with me Abiola Shoremekun. She's works in the oil and gas sector. She's been married for over 25 years. She's a certified marriage counselor. She's also a certified John Maxwell coach, and we're looking at leadership and marriage. Someone just asked the question. It says, someone asked on Facebook, if a cheating wife can be given a second chance. Can you speak to that?
Yes, a cheating wife can be given a second chance, just like a cheating husband can also be given a second chance. Okay. So far, the most important thing is if the cheating partner shows remorse.
Okay.
That's the first thing, shows remorse. Then after that remorse, the next thing is begin to counsel them to know the reason why that person cheated in the first place. I don't think anybody will just go out of their way to go and cheat if there's nothing wrong with the marriage. Something has to be fundamentally wrong. Either the husband is not fulfilling his obligations to that respect, in the home, or maybe even if he's fulfilling that obligation, he's not ensuring, that the wife is even enjoying it. In my book, I talked about romance, and I said that in romance, in sex, there's no place for a selfish lover. The two of you must have that harmony. You must be able to enjoy the act. It is not for one person to enjoy the act and the other person is not satisfied. The two of them must enjoy the act. So, what was responsible? Or is it that the husband was not giving the wife money and she had to find someone outside who was giving her money and she felt obligated to sleep with the man? So if the person shows remorse, that's the most important thing. If that person shows remorse, you can forgive and go on and then try and work at that thing that caused that thing again and then begin to build your trust. But I can tell you, that trust is not going to be built overnight. It's going to take time because the other partner that felt cheated, anytime the other partner that cheated goes out, there'll be thoughts in his or her head to say, oh, I hope she has not gone, she's not seeing someone. So it's not left for the partner who cheated to make sure that she's accountable. So a lot of things will be put in place so that such things don't happen again. And then also for couples, how often do they go on dates? How often do they spend time with each other? Do they know their love languages? Or, is one partner so engrossed with the children, especially where we female spouses are concerned? When we have children, we spend so much time with the children, we even forget the husband. Some of us are like that. And I always tell such people, it's good to nurture your children. It's good to give them time, but don't forget the person that you married the first time. Because God is such a perfect God. The husband and the wife started their life together. Then the children will come along, will nurture the children. And after the children would go. So if you do not give each other attention, when the children go, you find yourself as strangers.
Wow.
So you need to know what caused that infidelity in the first place. And that's one of the ways that we're going to counsel. It's possible. The same way, some men think that, because the society thinks that, men can cheat and get away with it, but a woman should not cheat. If a man can cheat, who says the man cannot cheat? If a man is not giving the wife attention, some people equate attention to be providing all the good things of life. for the wife and not giving that person attention. I remember something I read about T.D. Jakes. He said something one time. He said, there was a time he bought his wife, a gift, maybe a very nice looking dress and all that, and then he got a card and wrote some sweet nothings, in that card, like "You're my love, you're my whatever." Do you know what T.D. Jakes' wife appreciated in that gift? It was a card, not even the dress. So so you need to begin to know the needs. There are real basic needs of a woman. A woman loves to be romanced. A woman loves to, for her husband to be affectionate towards her. A woman wants to talk to her husband, wants to feel close to the husband. It's not about giving gifts. It's not about making her life comfortable. You need to give yourself time. You need to spend time together.
Thank you so much. Now, this issue of someone is just asking about love language. This issue of love language, is it important in marriage?
Yes, very important. You need to know your love language. There are 5 love languages. I may not be able to, remember all of them. There's, spending quality time together.
There's
spending
gifts.
quality time together.
Yes.
Gifts. For some people, it is gifts. For some people, it is gift. For some people, I cannot remember, but at least
Words
I
of affirmation, yeah.
Yes, words of affirmation. I love you. I love you. Do you know? For me, I remember one time, I was talking to a colleague. This colleague is not a pastor. He's just, a Christian and all that. So we just got talking, and he said, "Oh, do you know how my wife and myself?" I think we got talking to one place, and he said, anytime he wakes up in the morning, he and the wife, they always greet themselves by saying, "Good morning, my husband. I love you." And I said, "Wow, this was a long time ago," and I picked that up. Every morning after prayers, my husband and myself, we greet each other. "Good morning, my husband, I love you. Good morning, my husband, I love you." And I can tell you, okay, sometimes it's so challenging, especially those times when we have misunderstanding. Those days when we have a misunderstanding,
Wow.
But we know that we are committed to saying it. So even if we say it grudgingly, "Good morning, my husband, I love you. Good morning, my husband, I love you," but we will still say it. So words of affirmation are very good. And you can imagine you've been saying that all the time. What do you think would happen? The love will go strong. It is that thing. Speak those things that be not as though they are. "Oh, you're beautiful. You're looking nice." A man likes, to be appreciated. "Oh, you're looking nice. I like your shirt. Oh, I think this one looks better on you." Appreciate your man. Sometimes when he does something.
Sorry, I just want to comment because our time, we have a limited time, but this is something that we can even do part 2, part 3, part 4, But yes, I want to speak to this issue of spirituality in marriage. The husband doesn't want to be going to church and the wife wants to be going to church, and it's causing a lot of friction. Can you speak to that?
Very well.
And they were very spiritual when they got married. All of a sudden, the husband stopped going to church.
Okay, I will use myself as an example. When I first met my husband, before we started, when we started dating, okay, I was not a Christian. I was not a born again Christian. I was a Christian, the nominal Christian, and he was also a Christian, but not, the born again, spirit filled, in quote, Christian. Okay, so along the line, as we started making plans for marriage, I became born again. I dedicated my life to Christ, and I told him, I said, "Dear, I've dedicated my life to Christ, and so things have changed now. All those stuff that we used to do, before marriage, you cannot do. We need to wait." Okay, fine. Okay, so we went into marriage, and I was still continuing my spirituality, but he was not. Okay, he was not born again, but I was born again. And so anytime I want him to go to church, he's not ready to go to church with me. So what did I do? What did I do? I can't force him. So what did I do? I wake up very early in the morning, ask him, "Dear, what would you like me to prepare for your breakfast?" If I prepare his breakfast, everything, and I think the children will go to church. And then when I come back, I'll tell him, "Oh, dear, the church was so nice today. You know what the pastor said is not." Most of the time he grunts and just say, "Okay, I've heard." But I kept on doing this until one day, I was very late. I woke up late that day, and I quickly made his breakfast, and I said, "Okay, let me jump quickly into the bathroom and, go and have my bath." Only for my husband to jump into the bathroom. I said, "Dear, but I have to be late for church." He said, "Hey, is it only you that wants to be blessed? I'm also going to church." So you see, Is it do not when you had and say it was at that time. I understood at that time when I was going through that period that this is what God said when He said, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers," because it's going to be tough. It's going to be difficult when you have an unbelieving husband. But I can tell you, even if you have an unbelieving husband, even the Bible says that they can be won over by the action of their
Yeah.
wives. There's a
Yeah.
story of this great man of God. I mean, I can't remember, it's a Lamback or something like that. The wife was so.
Please, I want you to, because there are quite a number of people on this platform. If you have shared this page, just say yes. And if you have not shared this page, I want you to share this page, because there are people out there that must listen to this message. If you have shared this page, say yes. If you have not, say no. We want you to like. We will not continue until you share this page, please. Say yes if you have shared this page, please.
Please share the page.
Share the page, please.
Please share
Nobody
the
has
page.
said yes. So
Let's not
we
be
might
selfish. Let's allow others to also listen to the message.
honestly, you need to share this page. Yes. Okay. Yes. Please go on. Go on, madam. Yes.
Okay, so there was this great man of God. The wife was, a Christian, and the husband was not a Christian. So anytime the wife goes to church, the husband was always so abusive and everything. And then there was this particular day, the wife went to church, and the husband locked the wife out. And the wife came back from church, found the door locked, knocked, and the husband refused to open the door. What did she do? She sat in front of the door from morning till daybreak, from the early hours of the morning till daybreak. And the husband opened the door and found the husband, and the husband opened the door and found the wife seated there. And then the wife just greeted the husband. You, of course, would have expected the kind of anger or outburst. She just greeted the husband that, "Hello, darling, what can I make for you for breakfast?"
Wow.
The man I can't remember the name of this man of God. I mean, a very great man of God. And that was it for him. He said, "Where I want to go with you to where you are being taught, to behave like this, to live like this," because he expected a kind of outburst from the wife, but she didn't. So if you're married to an unbeliever, you can still win them over. It takes a lot of prayer. It takes a lot of patience, but it can be done.
Okay, thank you. Now, there's a lot of instances where, you live in Nigeria, but some people abroad, and, they have prenuptial agreements. What would you like to say to that?
Well, they have prenuptial agreement. Is it prenuptial agreement of
before they get married? Yeah.
Is it the one that they live together before they marry, or
no. There's already, in terms of divorce, in terms of their resources, the money, how they're going to share the money and so on. So there's already, prenuptial. Can you speak to that?
Yes, Goke. What does that tell you? It shows that there's no trust.
Wow.
It's just a lack of trust. If I'm not trusting, and that's the thing. I talked about this earlier. Like if you're marrying a man, that is very rich, maybe much, much richer than you, there's every possibility that man is going to have at the back of his mind that, well, I'm not sure if this lady actually loves me. She may be marrying me for my wealth because of what I have. So things like that would always happen. So the man would always want to protect himself, especially in that world where, there have been cases, and I don't blame them, really. There have been cases where people have divorced, and then you see the wife asking for, a share of the estate. So it all boils down on trust. If you don't trust each other, if you don't trust each other, if you don't trust the fact that, I'm marrying you because I love you, I'm marrying you because, not because of what you have, but because of who you are. You need to be able, it's difficult, it's challenging, but you need to be able to show that person that, look, I'm marrying you for who you are and not for what you have. I'm telling you, it's going to be very challenging for a man that has that much, but you can tell, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Now, sorry, I'm trying, I'm interrupting a bit because of the time. I just want to pack in as many questions as possible. Now, this issue of, people, husband and wife, living abroad and, because of the laws like in the UK or even the US, and the wife kicks out the husband.
And the wife what?
Kicks out the husband, kicks him out, tells him to move out of the house. In Nigeria, that doesn't really happen. You know, for I used to
what has the husband done for the wife to keep him up? What has the husband done? Well, we have a society there that supports women. So if you know you're going to be in that society, you had better behave yourself. You know, you had better behave yourself. You know, I have there are people, couples. When I say couples, who are relocating, what I always do is I will call the husband. I will call the husband aside and say, look, you're going into a society where women are respected, where women, are given the advantage over the man. So you had better be careful. Know where you're going to and know how you will behave. So that's just the way it is. Something must have happened for the wife to kick out the husband. Why? The tolerance level there is very low, probably. Maybe the husband has done, the tolerance level there is very low, and people don't give. People don't really care. If you cannot provide for the family, there's nothing like, oh, I'm looking for a job, or I'm leaving a job because I'm not satisfied with what they're paying me, or I'm going to sit at home until I get a job. If you are not providing for the house, then you cannot be eating. You cannot be getting a free food, free heating, free everything. So things are tough out there. They pay a lot of bills and all that. So the tolerance level is very low. So if you are not contributing to the upkeep of the house, might as well get out. That's the way it is for them, really. But in Nigeria, it's not like that. In Nigeria, it's most of the time the wife, going out of leaving the house, or the husband kicking out the wife and all that. It's a different ballgame over there. It's a different ballgame, but it can be worked. Once there's love, once there's understanding, once there's communication, which is very, very important. We need to be able to communicate. We need to be able to talk to each other. What is actually wrong? What are we going through? We can't, husband and wife cannot afford to keep secrets from each other. Like anytime I try to talk to my husband, for me, I try to talk to him. I try to know what is going on in his life. And sometimes, when I know that he's believing God for something, I'll always put it in our family prayer. It shows that you care. So you can always talk about things, everything does not have to be, about money sometimes,
Wow.
because
Wow. Now, I want you to speak to this, in terms of raising children. Sometimes there's a bias. Men feel that the wives, they because they're closer to the children, they manipulate them, to to make the husband be at a disadvantage. Can you speak to that? Raising children, in marriage.
Okay, thank you very much. In our setting, we grew up in the kind of setting, things are different now. But in our own setting, we grew up in those days when the wife is always the one taking care of the children. When it comes to taking the children to school, during open day or one thing or another, the wife is always the one responsible for doing all those things. The husband just goes to work and then pays the bills. So what do you find? You find the children, of course, tilting more to the mother, because the mother is always there for them. During open day, during all those school sessions, all those whatever, the mother is there. In my own case, I used to tell my husband, I said, look, you better be involved in the lives of your children. If you're not involved in their lives, tomorrow when they become strangers to you, when they start to buy their mommy cars or whatever, and they're not doing anything to you, don't blame me. So I always tell them, so if the husband, men should try and get more involved. Those days are gone when you think it is a woman's job to take care of their children. It is a woman's job to go for open day. It is a woman's job to attend the graduation of your children. No way. It is both your job. You can always find that balance. If one person is busy, another person can go. Show your children that you care for them. For children, it's not just about money. You need to care for them. You need to show that you care for them. You need to be there for them. You need to be able to talk to them. I talk to my children. I talk about school. I talk about everything. When they were in school abroad, I even have their timetables, their school timetables. So I can always tell, I can always tell when they're supposed to be attending lectures or not. Sometimes I even try to call them when they're attending lectures.
Wow.
So that when they answer me, I'll say, are you not supposed to be in lecture? What are you doing? So I go to that length. So we men, husbands should have, should try and put in more time, be involved in the lives of their children, so that the children also, when they get older, they would also be involved in the lives of the two of them. In their parents. They will not segregate. Okay, so it's very, very important. Those days are gone.
Wow. I just want us to, those of us that are on this platform, just appreciate Abiola Shoremekun. She's done very well. Just say thank you, Abiola. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, I want you just to share about your book, and how we can contact you. We can buy your book. I know you have a book, Essentials of a Successful Marriage. And I was privileged to be part of, the unveiling of this book. I'm just so proud of you. You are our ambassador, as it were, globally now. The whole world is listening to you. Just please go ahead and present your book to
so this is my book, Essentials of a Successful Marriage, a step-by-step guide. I was led to write this book. I received a direct calling from God to write this book. Okay, so I always tell people, the reason for my writing this book. I come from a polygamous home. My father had 5 wives. My mother was the first wife. And so I grew up with a lot of, unpleasant memories, And as a child then, I made a silent vow to myself that I would do everything virtuously possible to make sure that I don't be in the situation that my mother was, and neither would I allow my children to also be in the same. So eventually my parents separated. My mother was the first of 5 wives. My parents separated, and we got to live with our mom. But we had this half brothers, 3 half brothers. They were living with us. My mom was taking care of them at that time because their mom passed on at a very early age. So they actually thought that my mom was their mom. So at that point in time when my parents were separated, my mom could not take them. So fast forward, we lost contact with each other. And then fast forward, because my mom was no longer there, my dad took them to their guidance to live with them. And of course, these children grew up. These my half brothers, they grew up, feeling rejected, feeling as if nobody cared for them, because they thought my mom abandoned them. They thought their siblings, also abandoned them. So eventually we got, together. And for one of them, he was on his deathbed. He was in a coma. Because at that time when they were living alone, they were depressed, they were dejected, and they did the only thing that they could do. He turned to drinking. So he got, in his 40s, he got to drinking, and drinking to the extent that he damaged all his organs, and he had to be in a coma. Eventually, he passed. And at that particular point in time, I started to think that this thing called marriage, sometimes the rippling effect is like when you drop a stone inside water. You will never know how far the ripples will go. What happened? This guy died for something that he did not have a part in the decision of his life. He happened to be a victim of circumstance in that home. So I got back and I started thinking, what do I do? So I got into, I started getting involved in a marriage counseling and all that. But then it was only a localized thing. So, and one day, when I celebrated my 50th birthday, I received, God especially told me that I've brought you this far so that you can just revel in whatever you have accomplished. Okay, you're happily married at this age. What are you going to do about it? At that particular time, in 2017, I decided to write this book. I started writing this book since 2017, but I didn't have the time to complete it. So I completed it to the glory of God during lockdown in 2020, and I published it. And I made it so affordable. It's 1,000 naira. Sometimes I even give it to people for free. For me, I'm much more. And before I publish the book, I pray that as many people as God will use this book to impact, I pray that God will use this book to impact as many people as He can. Because what I'm talking about, if 50%, marriage is the smallest unit in a society. And you can always tell a society by the kind of marriages that we have. We are having failed marriages today, and what are we having? We are having a society that is filled with area boys, that is filled with kidnappers, that is filled with banditry. If those people were in successful homes, in successful marriages, are we going to be having banditry? Are we going to be having kidnapping? So, I mean, it is not enough for us to just to talk about what is going on in the country. So many area boys, kidnappings, whatever, the government is not doing. What are you doing? What are you doing to do something about what is happening?
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, I want you, this is the final question, you know, it's been amazing. This is Leadership Talk with Adegoke, the 41st session. And we're looking at leadership and marriage with me on this platform. This amazing time is Abiola Shoremeko. She shared so many nuggets. I want you finally to talk to us. Who are your mentors in closing?
Well, would you be surprised if I tell you that books are my major mentors? Why?
Wow.
Books are my major mentors. Books are my major mentors. In fact, in my book Divider, I have an inscription that says, books are the quietest and most constant of friends. They are the most accessible and wisest of counselors and the most patient of teachers. Okay, not that I don't have, of course, I've read a lot of books. I've read, so many books, but some of the books that have really, really touched my life, you know, the book of Stormy Omatan. Stormy Omatan, she wrote, The Power of a Praying Wife, Power of a Praying Parent. And I remember that book really touched me in the early years of my marriage when I was going through a lot of challenges. You know, because I had made that vow that I didn't want what my mom went through to also happen to me. Neither did I want my children to do same. So I was very eager to have a successful home. So I was forcing things. And at the end of the day, as I was trying to force things, I was even making things worse. So I started to pray. And then I stumbled on that book, Power of a Praying Wife. And I said, oh, yes, I've got it. Because in those days, the prayers I used to pray was, oh, God, change this man. Why is this man being like this? God, change him. God, do this. God, do that. But when I read Stormy Omatian's book, the first chapter said, if you want God to change you, you need to change yourself first. And so with that book, he worked on me. And with what it was after he worked on me, that I was able to now work on my husband.
Wow.
So books have always been my mentors. But I have, also, of course, I have, human mentors. I have the couple, Pastor and Pastor Mrs. Deborah Oshikoya. They've been married, I think, maybe going to 40 years, if I'm wrong, maybe 50, I don't know. But they're very strong couples. They attended my, when I published my book, they're very, they've been my mentors.
Wow.
I have, I have a pastor in Redeem that I always talk to anytime I have an issue that I need to share, counsel, because every counselor also needs a counselor. We don't know it. Every mentor also needs a mentor. And then also I look for the good things in people. I look at people around, I look at the good things in people, and I talk to them. When I see someone achieve something very nice and something very laudable, I talk to that person, I appreciate them, and I ask them how they did it. So I learned as many people as God brings my way.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wow. This has been amazing. I know we can go on and on and on, but you really shared so much tonight on this platform, Leadership Talk with Adegoke. I want to thank everyone that has joined us, and I want to let you know that we are so thankful for you, all the comments and the feedback, and this has been an amazing, amazing session. For those who are going to watch the replay, please feel free to contact, send a DM if you would like to contact Abiola Shoremeko. So have a wonderful, wonderful time. Thank you so much. Until next time.
Thank you so much for also bringing me on this program. Thank you for bringing me on this program, and thank you for everyone who took the time to join us. We are not taking you for granted. You could have been doing other things, with your time, but you decided to come and listen to Leadership Talk with Adegoke. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks to the coach, our coach, Adegoke Omotola. Thank you for always showing up. Thank you for always bringing people of great content and for always giving us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you too.
We bless God, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See
Thank
you
you.
and bye bye. I'm
Thank
so grateful.
Thank
Thank you.
you.